Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rita Griffith. I work in the Office of Career Solutions and Corporate Engagement in the College of IST, and I've been in touch with most of you, probably even met with some of you. I'm really excited to co-present tonight, or actually sponsor, not co-present, this presentation tonight, utilizing LinkedIn profiles beyond the basics. It is being presented by Laurie Burris, who's an Education Innovation Advisor at LinkedIn Learning. And in conversations that I've been having with Laurie and her colleague, Kim, I've been using LinkedIn for a good amount of time now, and I am never ceases to amaze me the volume of things, tips and tricks, and just resources and tools that are available on LinkedIn. So I hope that you learn a lot. I'm going to turn it over to Laurie, and Laurie, you can go ahead and share your screen. I will stop sharing mine.
Okay, just give me a sec to set up here and then we'll get going. So I'm so glad you're joining us here today. I'm thrilled to be working with Penn State University. Penn State University is one of our legacy LinkedIn Learning accounts. They were one of the very first campuses that I visited when I started working for lynda.com back in 2009. We'll be talking about one graduating senior who I did a before and after session with. You're going to gain tips on how to do your LinkedIn profile. Feel free to open your desktop and look at your LinkedIn profile while we're doing this. Don't think you have to look at my slides the whole time. And I know that Rita will send you the slides and the checklist so that you can follow along and play along as you go. I am Laurie Burris. I'm the Education Innovation Advisor at LinkedIn Learning. And Matthew Rogers was the student who volunteered from Penn State. He's getting his BS in software development and computer engineering. And he plans to graduate, I think, around December of 2022. Matthew, unfortunately, can't be with us virtually because he has a class at this time, but don't worry. I interviewed him and I captured his responses. So before we start, I want to assure you that any one person can be and do a lot of things over a lifetime, that careers are anything but linear. They're not like one-way streets. They're more like a painting by Jackson Pollock. You can be an artist, a teacher, a speaker, a writer, a curriculum development expert, an interaction designer, a universal broadband advocate, an education innovation advisor at LinkedIn Learning, and still have a family and dogs and travel and wear costumes for any occasion and hike to pyramids in Mexico. This is where I spent my Christmas day this last December. We're going to talk about creating your LinkedIn profile, how to get noticed, and what the kind of work that I did with Matthew Rogers that you can do for yourself on your own. And then we'll talk about how you can get connected with your Penn State University network and the resources that Penn State has for you. The ongoing COVID issues have cast a lot of uncertainty among a lot of students and alums, but this session is all about dispelling those feelings. Forget the what ifs, because a lot of to-dos or actionable steps exist that you can control and do right now. If you're a student in college, it's time to get ready, get noticed, and get heard. This is the perfect time if you're looking for an internship or your first job out of college, because it's early in the game and you've got the next 6 months to get yourself out there and get those interviews set up. Most students have high uncertainty and low confidence when it comes to getting a job, even before COVID-19. Most students do not know what skills they need to learn to get started in a career. And most students have a LinkedIn account, but there's actually one out of 5 that don't. And that puts them at a distinct disadvantage right now in this world of hybrid on-site and remote working. This is what the 2021 grads are saying. 50% of grads feel wholly unprepared for the workplace after their degree. It requires that you be open to job opportunities you hadn't envisioned for yourself. Widen your scope of search. Be open to living somewhere you hadn't planned to. And think about that networking is hard if no one is going to offer you a job. You're going to have to network very hard to be seen so that you get offered a job. Consider doing volunteer experience while you're still at Penn State or as a sideline or doing some kind of gig economy or part-time freelance work. I've put the list of the skills that what employers say they most would expect college graduates to have. Which of these skills do you have? They're all necessary to make that transition from school to work. Fewer than half of students report feeling they've gained the critical skills in college needed to transition to the workforce, such as complex problem solving, resume writing, workplace technologies, and interview skills. And notice what's at the top, time management, something that students in college are respectfully but awful at doing. You do want to be able to show evidence of some of these things. You may not have even thought it's a skill, but critical thinking is one of the taxonomy words that you can put in your skills. And you want to be able to show that you can communicate and work in groups and work in teams. And you need to be able to show evidence of that in your profile. The majority of students have reported that they've learned skills in college, working as a member of a team, collaborating, and communicating with peers. But do you have those skills listed on your LinkedIn profile? I bet you don't. So let's get into creating a LinkedIn profile. And this is where it's perfectly okay, will not hurt my feelings if you go off and look at your own computer. If you don't have one, it's time to make one. And if you do, let's update the one you do have. So why LinkedIn? How does LinkedIn create value for you? Our vision at LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. It's all about connecting you to opportunity, whether it's to get a job, build your professional identity, or learn a skill. LinkedIn is an ecosystem that has powerful data, tools, and insights to help you connect to opportunity. Half of all US adults with college degrees use LinkedIn, and that's from a Pew Research Center in 2018. So now let's focus on you and your profile. Your LinkedIn profile is a story. It's a personal story. It isn't a resume. It helps you to gain inbound attention. People get to see you. They get to notice you. They get to recognize you. Next week, when we do a second session, we'll address how to gain outbound attention, how to put your voice out into that LinkedIn network. Before you start, orient yourself to the profile page. I can't see your profile page. You're the only one who can edit it. You're seeing the screen share here of my profile page. Wherever you see a pen, that's a place that you can edit something. But what I really want you to notice is up in the upper right-hand corner, you can edit your public profile and URL. If it's a bunch of numbers, change it. Change it to your name and something that will be memorable and easy to type in there. Also, if you speak two languages, if you speak Chinese and English, you can have your profile in two different ways. I teach at USC in graduate school, and about half of my Asian students have two LinkedIn profiles, one for China and Taiwan and Korea, and one for the United States. A new feature is that you can add your pronouns, and you can also put your pronunciation of your name. Now, I will give you a heads up. Doing video and doing audio recordings works way better on your cell phone. It doesn't work on the laptop. So if you want to record how you say your name, open up your LinkedIn app on your cell phone to do that recording. If you're going to make any videos, do them on your LinkedIn app on your cell phone. It just doesn't work on the desktop. There are the section called Open To. That's for finding a new job or providing services or hiring. So you can be looking for a job and say open to, but you could also say you're open to freelance work in design. You're open to freelance work in coding or software development. It's a way to say your services are available while you're in school and still be able to attend school. All the sections that you can address in the LinkedIn profile are listed under Add section. Some of them are not in areas where you can easily find them. So don't be afraid to go up to this all the time during this workshop and check out which section to look into. But we want to address most of them today. And finally, more, if you haven't got a good resume, LinkedIn will actually help you build a resume. Click on build a resume and it will generate in Microsoft Word what it thinks is a pretty good match for a one-page resume. It's a great place to start. There's also some things you probably see in the middle. I'm an all-star. If you're not an all-star, I would hope by the end of this workshop or the next time I see you, you are, because if you follow all these steps, you will instantly become an all-star. We have something called creator mode. This is mostly for influencers and for people who have large followings. So if you have 10, 20, or 30,000 followers, then you want creator mode because you can't write emails to all those people. Bill Gates has creator mode on. Most of the presidents of the universities have creator mode on. My network will show you all the people that you're connected to and any connections you've made, events, interests that you put out there. You can see those right there. Salary Insights, no one ever checks, but it's great. You can put any job title in there and see across the United States what the average annual yearly salary is. And you can see for where you live and what you're doing, if you're above, below, or right at the average salary. And finally, my items. There are many times when you're on the LinkedIn platform that you can click this little bookmark and it will save things for you. I often save posts, job alerts, courses, all kinds of things. So that's there. That's all for you to see. This is what your profile will look like if you say you're open to work. You'll instantly get a little doohickey attached to your photo, and you can take it off whenever you want to. You can also tell us what kind of work you're open to and what location would best suit you. But remember, as a graduate, you should be looking for 3 types of jobs. There can be remote, hybrid, and on-site. And typically the hybrid is something you can actually negotiate. So I told you the custom URL is really important. And you also want to look at your privacy settings. When you're actively searching for an internship or a job, I suggest that you have your public visibility all on, just like mine is. There's also something at the bottom called the public profile badge. It's sort of like your digital calling card. And you can use that and post that in InMail and in posts to let people know that they can view your profile or that you've updated something on your profile. It's your digital calling card. No need to print 500 business cards. So step 1, the photo is super, super important. It's your professional story. Make sure you select a LinkedIn profile photo that truly represents you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to tell your professional community who you are. It can be a professional headshot. It should fit right in there. It shouldn't be way, way back with you holding a surfboard 2 blocks away. Really crop in close on your face. It's really important because it's a tiny photograph. If you snap your own photos, just make sure your photo is high res, has good lighting, and just, as I said, features you. In fact, did you know that LinkedIn has photo filters that you can use to polish up your photo? You can use them by clicking into that pencil to edit your photo. Step 2, add your industry. So this is what recruiters look at first, your job title. Adding your industry is really important. Often it's how others will find you and add to your professional network. In addition, adding your industry will give you up to 9 times more profile views. 9. Members with industry information are discovered up to 38 times more in recruiter searches. So make sure that you put a meaningful job description or title. It's simple. Click the pencil at the top of your profile where your headshot and name are, and scroll down to edit or add your industry. Try to be as specific as possible. Now, the summary is really important and very different. This is when it starts not being like a resume. Here, you really want to tell your personal story. Think of your summary as your elevator pitch. It should include an introduction to you and also highlight your accomplishments and aspirations. And by aspirations, I mean, where do you hope to be in a year or 2 years or 3 years? Keep it short and sweet. There's no need to list all your career accomplishments. You're going to have experience sections for that. And feel free to highlight your unique talents and how you want to contribute. Did you know that adding a summary of 40 words or more makes your profile more likely to turn up in a future employee search? This is the second thing that most recruiters see, because the way our algorithms work behind the scenes is industry search, then it goes to the summary, and then it goes to, guess what? Skills, because we're a skills-centric search facing for the job applications. I'll talk more about that. So when people say to me, what kind of story, what should I add to? It's the who, what, why. Who am I and why did I come to this industry or this field? 2, what am I currently doing? What skills and things and projects am I working on? And 3, what am I trying and where do I envision myself being in this industry? Make sure you add things that make a difference. One of my students at Otis Art Institute was on the spectrum of autism, but it was through her autism that she learned she had exceptional drawing skills and exceptional observational skills and was really good at animation. At first she said, I don't want to disclose that. I said, but that's how you became an animator. Add that to your story. She did. She landed her first part-time job over the summer. It's really important to tell who you are in this personal storytelling. Detail your work experience. Experience is your opportunity to tell your professional story and talk about your accomplishments within each of the roles you've had. It could be internships, fellowships, part-time experiences, pro bono, and capstone projects senior year or in graduate school. A great way to showcase your experience is to write it in short paragraph form rather than bullet points. And you can use a couple of bullet points here and there, but the majority should read like a story, your professional story. If you've worked at a startup company or a smaller company that isn't as well known, give a brief introduction to the company before detailing your experience. And lastly, it's great to talk about what you did in your role. Explain the impact you had and the results you delivered or the change you created. For instance, if you taught everybody on the team how to do something that really improved time management, then you could say the ROI for the team increased productivity by 25 or 30%. So name what you did and then show what the impact is. Rich media. You can do this throughout the profile. You can add pictures everywhere, but my favorite place to add them is in featured, because featured automatically creates a visual slideshow. You can add photos here, you can add videos, you can add a PDF of a presentation, a website, a link, a YouTube, a Vimeo, anything that will visually enhance your profile and make it more dynamic. It helps connect people to what you do by adding rich media to your experience. When we're on the web, the first thing we use is our eyes, then we read. So we look and get a gestalt feeling for your profile before we even start to go into the details and read each section. Keep in mind, this doesn't have to be content you own. For example, if you have a group project or capstone project, you can use them in your profile, especially in your experience section, but be sure and explain exactly what your role is. This comes up all the time. I live in Southern California and I have lots of students who are in the entertainment industry. And they say, can I put that I worked on this PSA or this trailer? I said, yes, but be sure to say what your role and what you added to that project. Step 6, this one you guys just simply underreport. Add volunteer experience. If you've been at Penn State, I bet you've had one class where you've worked with a community organization, a local business, or you've worked with a nonprofit. Adding volunteer experience is a great way to round out your professional identity and uniquely tell your story. Make sure you add your volunteer experience and give a quick 1 to 2 sentence description of what you do for that specific organization. Did you know that almost half of all hiring managers say they view volunteer experience as an equivalent to formal work experience? Now, this is the Achilles heel of most college students. They don't have a lot of work experience. So have you done something with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts? Have you helped a sports team? All of those things are great things that you could put on there as volunteer experience. In my own teaching experience, we did things with the food banks here in Pasadena. We did things with the homeless center. There's many things that my classes did in conjunction with community services here in Pasadena. It's really an important part of your professional identity and shows that you have passion and care about the people that live around you. So add skills. This is where students underreport. We did a test and we saw that most college graduates were underreporting skills and therefore not matching very well with job descriptions that were being put up. When we went back and actually surveyed those students why they weren't reporting more skills, do you know what the college grads told us? They thought it was braggadocious. LinkedIn is not social media. You are not bragging. You are trying to give a full 360 picture of yourself and all of the skills that you have. Adding at least 5 or more skills can get you up to 17 times more profile views. Professionals, AKA recruiters, commonly search key skills first. So I told you the 3 things they search: the industry, the summary, and the skills. It's another great way to be found by your network. And LinkedIn certificates posted on your profile, and you're a LinkedIn Learning campus, bump you up to the top of the interview list. Remember, you are in full control of your skills. You can choose what order they get displayed and who endorses you for what. Put them in the order of importance to the job you're trying to get. If you're following along with me right now, the pencil will let you edit things. The plus will let you add skills, and you can use our keyword search, our taxonomy, to suggest ideas for skills. And finally, there's a little hamburger icon that you can move things up and down. Make sure that your top 3 skills are at the top. Request a recommendation. This isn't like the full-blown letter of recommendation that you get right before you sign your contract and get your new job. Recommendations are a great way for you to build your professional credibility. If you don't already have them, request a recommendation from a colleague, a teacher, or mentor. I'm sad to say that I have 2 children of my own who graduated from Princeton and Northwestern, and both of them left the university without asking for 1 letter of recommendation before they left the university system. Go up to 2 years ago, my son now is applying for graduate school, and he's saying to me, why didn't I ask any of my teachers for a letter of recommendation? He needed them for applying to the master's program. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind, though, when you're requesting a recommendation. Customize your request. Make sure you let the person know what you want to be recommended for specifically: a project, an initiative, a character evaluation, or an ethics or values evaluation. You cannot request a recommendation unless you're connected to that person. So first connect to that teacher or that colleague, tell them why you want to connect, and then you'll be able to request that recommendation. It's kind of buried. If you go back up to the top to where all those different areas are, you have to look a little bit for the recommendations. We've recently changed it so it's a little bit more visible. When you make that request, especially when you're asking senior leaders, sometimes you can write a first pass to send them. I love it when my graduate students give me 3 bullet points that they want me to really emphasize in that recommendation. This helps to save the recommender time and gives them something to work with that they can edit to make their own. You can even send them an outline to work with. Choose people who you have worked with closely and who can provide specific examples of how your strengths, skills, and experience show up. And remember, it doesn't have to be 1,000-page. Most of mine are around 300 to 600 words long. And don't forget about location, education, publications, accomplishments. Many of you will be writing a senior thesis or a capstone project paper. Many of you are on the dean's list or received a scholarship or an award or have done some served as a leader in a service organization, in a fraternity, a sorority, in a community project. Be sure that you add those. Those are all things that you can fill out in sections on your LinkedIn profile. Finally, your LinkedIn profile is a living document. It's never done. I'm turning 70 in March, and I'm still updating my LinkedIn profile. And I was one of the very first people to start joining when Reid Hoffman started the company. So I've been doing this for a good 20 plus years. Now, Reid, I see your hands up.
Yep, I just wanted to take a quick pause to remind students and participants that you can add questions in the chat. There's a in the Q&A section. And I know that there's a lot of information coming at you really quickly. So please don't hesitate to write those questions when you have them, and we will come back to answer them in just a little bit.
Yep. So add your location. This will help you discover opportunities and connections in your area, another area where recruiters often look. Education is important to add, and you can choose where in your profile it gets displayed. You can move different sections of the profile up and down. And again, remember, if you have publications, special projects, research, put that in there and add this section to your profile under accomplishments. Industry honors, awards, these are types of things that are great to feature in that section. So getting noticed, now to our before and after. And who doesn't love a good before and after? By setting up your LinkedIn profile and your resume and checking out those jobs, let's take an up close and deep dive look at Matthew Rogers, one of our own Penn State students. But before we do, I want to explain a little mind think to you. What do a transcript and a job description have in common? Well, they're both lists. But what is really different? A transcript is a list of courses and subjects designed by the university. It means a lot inside the university. The job posting is a list of skills, and it falls into three buckets: professional, interpersonal, and technological. Now, we give a huge amount of credence to the transcript, but in today's world of virtual, artificial intelligent job search engines and algorithms, a transcript does not translate to match as skills. At LinkedIn, we have data that college students underreport the skills and knowledge they have gained in school. But the transcript is really a ticket into the job interview. And then on top of that, you need to show evidence of all the skills that the employer desires for that position. After fighting hard to get a budget, the employer tries to write a perfect job description for the perfect candidate, knowing that person doesn't really exist. In most cases, they would be happy with a person who meets 60 to 70% of the qualifications. You'll see this as you're looking for jobs, that you'll get an estimate of how many of the qualifications you meet. If you get around 60 or 70%, apply for the job. Once they have done this initial screening, they set up interviews which focus on a good fit for the team, the company culture, and getting along with others. Looking for agreement that this would be a fun person to work with for 40 to 60 hours per week. The big takeaway, the search engine can't see or match the skills from the transcript. So here's Matthew. Matthew volunteered to meet with me 2 times in the last 2 weeks in Zoom sessions. We spent about 3.5 hours together over the last 2 weeks. He's currently seeking an internship for the summer, and he expects to graduate in December of 2022. But before we met for the first time, I looked at Matthew's profile to see how much work he had done on his LinkedIn profile. And he had done quite a bit, but it didn't really tell a story, and it certainly didn't feel personal. It was really dry. I also wasn't sure he was using the right keywords in his profile that would match with his aspirations. So I asked him to send me 2 or 3 job postings that he aspired to have before our first meeting. I then highlighted the skills that roughly fall into 3 buckets: professional, interpersonal, and technological. As you can see, he was looking for an internship at Lockheed Martin, at Microsoft, and finally, he was looking for one at Mantech, a company he wasn't really familiar with. I took my highlighter pen in my PDF document, underlined all of those, and created for Matthew a skills analysis based on his ideal or aspirational job choices. I ordered those highlighted skills into these 3 areas before we met for the first time. Then Matthew and I had a 1-hour plus session, what I call the makeover session, for his LinkedIn profile. And I made a to-do list of areas where his profile could be improved. And we made sure that these key skills were added. So we just started to type these words in, like team, and then LinkedIn would suggest what kind of words were related to team, or innovation, or critical feedback, or motivation. Now, Matthew's looking for jobs that are in a very technical area, but as you can see, the professional skills are twice as many as the area of expertise, what he's studying at the university, and the technological requirements for the job. So I asked him to think about volunteer, multiple languages, special projects, publications, add media, get a great headshot. He had a terrible banner, just a default banner. And really, I made him completely rewrite his summary and brand statement. And I made sure that we talked about recommendations and got him writing some posts. I recommended that he do 3 posts before I met him the second time and add any honors and awards that he'd received. So this is what it looked like. This is the before picture. And I'm just going to scroll through so that you can see. I asked him to replace that generic background, update his job title to make it more clear, rewrite his about, add his featured section. As you can see, he added images, but they're not good images. They're more text and blurry images, pixelated images. And any licenses, volunteer experiences, skills, endorsements, recommendations, he had that nailed. He had 3, and accomplishments. So after he had a week to think about this and to do these homework assignments, I really wanted to tell him, I really want you to think about it being personalized and using data and evidence to make your profile have strength. So after 2 weeks, this is what it looked like last Wednesday. And I was so proud of him. He has a great background. He's open to work. He's updated his about, and he's got it in sentence and paragraph form. Aspiring software engineer with the desire to create and develop new solutions to improve the lives of others through technology. He gave us his why. He tells us what he's currently doing, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Human-Centered Design and Development at Penn State with a minor in security risk and analysis. He did not have security risk in there before, and it's one of the top search jobs right now. And he possesses 3 years of experience in software design, and then if you clicked on more, you'd see his aspirations. Look at the featured section now. It's got images of projects he's been creating. He had a beautiful website that he'd created in GitHub, but he didn't have any of the visualization of the projects that he was working on or of his portfolio. He now has about 5 images up there, which I'm, again, super proud of him. And then finally, he's been doing activity, he's been doing posts, he's worked on his skills, and I'm going to go deep dive into his skills. And I got him to join new groups so he could expand his network. And I made him go on to the Penn State University page. We'll talk more about that. So let's look at what his skills look like now. This slide is screenshots of his skills sections by section. Once you get your skills worked out, you can then look by industry knowledge, tools and technology, and interpersonal skills, as well as other skills. Now, when people come in to endorse his skills or different colleagues or professors, it's easy to see which ones that they can endorse him for. He's now got the top 10 skills for all of the internships that he submitted to me. He now has all of the technological skills listed that each of those companies was asking for. And he had very few interpersonal skills, and he was very, let's put it this way, humble about this. But I got him to add the top ones that I thought would help him get the jobs. And then we added some other things just because they're trending on LinkedIn for jobs right now. Security analysis, security risk, internet, cross-team collaboration, innovation. All of you should have one skill that has innovation or creativity on it. Outcome focused, product research, gamer, because that is his avocation. And what's great about this is through all of these, we really get a sense of a big view of him that's going to match much better now with those jobs that he's trying to get. Now is the time to get out there and rev up for high gear and prepare for your life in the real world before you graduate. Start at home using the PSU network and campus resources. Oh, I did want to give you an update about Matthew. I did email him today. He's had 3 video interviews where he's had to answer 3 questions by video. We did a little coaching on how to over animate on a video interview. And we have a whole section on LinkedIn that's absolutely free where you can practice the top 20 interview questions. You get to see a video of an example, and then you get to make your own video and get feedback from your friends. And then the good news is he's got an interview that he's setting up with Lockheed. They're just trying to nail down the date and time. So as I said, updating your profile can really pay off. So the 4 or 5 hours that Matthew put aside in the last 2 weeks have already generated a lot of feedback for him. And last but not least, as we talk about this network area, he went from like 129 in his network to like 180. So he increased that by 30%. LinkedIn has a Penn State University page. I'm showing it to you now. If you click on the alumni button and then search by keyword, in this case, using Matthew as my example, you can see that we searched by software developer. And right now, in the Penn State alumni group, there are 10,000 alums that are related to doing work in software development. You can see where they live, and most of them live in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and New York, and other parts of Pennsylvania. And you can see where they work. And you might be surprised to see that a number of them work at Penn State University, which probably means they entered master's, PhD, professional programs, or are working on campus. Vanguard, Microsoft, Lockheed Martin, Google, IBM, Amazon, Capital One. Finance. So one of the things I got Matthew to think about is broadening his search to not just using tech companies, but thinking about aerospace companies, thinking about healthcare companies, and also thinking about finance companies. This was really helpful for him, and that is how he increased his network by 30%. He also, if you can look on the sidebar on the right, you see other pages that people viewed. And that gives you an idea of other companies, the Mueller Associates, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and the Department of Environmental Protection. In addition, he can see where these people live, he can reach out to them, and he can start setting up those virtual coffee chats or those informational interviews. And when you connect with alums on LinkedIn, you can request a 20 to 25 online meeting to discuss the field, the opportunities, and what a day in the life of the industry is like. You're not asking for a job, you're just doing a professional connection, a meet, greet, and finding out more and seeing if you really want that job, or what kind of skills you might be missing, or what kind of training might boost you to get that next step up to what you're going to do in your career. There is also something Rita and Chris are very proud of, which is the Penn State IST Center resources. In your area of expertise, knowledge expertise, you have a whole page developed career development resources. You can have career coaching, on-campus recruiting, targeted job search strategies, all kinds of things that you can do. And you can attend more of these types of events that Rita and Chris are putting on. So Penn State also has an IST LinkedIn page, and you should join and follow this page, because following this page is going to connect you to those active alum and let them find out what's going on. This is a great place. It's just like joining a group. I highly recommend it. When I'm working with graduates, I always set up a graduate group so that we can have those conversations and see what other people are doing. And guess what? Alums, in my case, ex-students, often go out and call me 5 to 10 years later and saying, I'm looking for these job positions. Do you have any people at your school? So I want to do a quick review. Enhance your resume, your cover letter, but start with your LinkedIn profile. Prepare yourself to be interviewed virtually. Practice doing video interviewing. And remember, you have to be a little bit more animated like I'm doing today. I wouldn't be nearly as animated if you saw me in face-to-face. You'd see my body movements and you'd see me move on the podium. But when you only have a tiny little screen, you've got to really be a little bit more enthusiastic and passionate. Search for your telecommuting job opportunities. You might be able to stay right where you are and have an internship with a company that's all the way in California. Be willing to apply for sectors that are ramping up to hire. As I said, security is one of the top ramping jobs right now. Check out the local businesses that are overwhelmed during COVID but need help and expertise. Keep applying, do regular reevaluations. I have to let you know, it's not always easy to get a coveted internship. One of my graduate students at USC in the interaction design area had to apply to 80 internships to get one at Toshiba last summer. So just stay on it. Set up alerts and do it every week. I'll do a deep dive on this in the second session. And supplement your income in the meantime by saying you're open to doing part-time services if you can't find the kind of job that you're currently looking for. And keep going at it, reflect and do it again. If I've learned anything during COVID, you've just got to be flexible, be patient, persevere. You're in the middle of a wait and see period. No job is forever. Lean on your career center. Focus on gaining new skills. As one video engineer said to me, tell your students to learn the new stuff we don't know. You are at Penn State learning cutting edge material in your classes. And what I learned from Matthew is nowhere on his profile did he have that he was learning all of these top skills in security, which is one, as I said, the most important things to cloud computing right now. And give yourself time to strategize. What can you do in the short term? What kind of career paths should I be exploring in the mid-range? And then think, where do you want to land 3 to 5 years now? Look at some of the job descriptions and see where the perfect fit for you is. We're up to Q&A, and I've left plenty of time for questions, Rita, but I do want to let everybody know that all these resources are available to you. You're going to get this LinkedIn checklist that goes step by step through what I covered today. I also created my own learning path called From School to Work, and you're a LinkedIn Learning Campus, and your LinkedIn Learning representatives, Kim Luger, is in the chat. And Kim, I'm going to ask you one more time to post how they can get onto a LinkedIn Learning course if they need to at Penn State. And then finally, we have made a bundle of courses free. So if you have people in your family, your neighborhood, your network, and they're trying to do the same thing, you can share these courses. And there's links out to all of these courses in LinkedIn Learning. Okay. Also, for any of you want to go deeper dive, we have a lot of resources to help the alumni, a lot of resources to help undergrads, and a lot of resources to help people in higher ed, both the employees and the faculty members. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to go to questions.
There was a couple of questions that students have asked me. One of the questions that I posted to the just in our chat was, should my summary be in first person or not? Does that make any difference?
Yes, this is one place where you're allowed to use first person. I know it's been trained out of you since high school that you have to write everything in third person, but I kept emphasizing that your personal story is your professional story. It's your journey. Nobody else could have the story but you. And that's how I got that student who was on the spectrum to really tell why it mattered that she was in animation. Use the I word. It's okay.
Great. And another question that I had personally, as you were going through the presentation, are students limited as to how much media they can add on a profile?
In that featured section, I think you can add up to around 6 right now, but in the work experience and volunteer experience, you can add images of different projects that you've worked on. You can include the PDFs. For instance, I had a student who got a Microsoft internship in India for the summer, and she had to write a white paper. And she attached that white paper to that featured area within the workspace. There, throughout the profile in each one of those sections, there is the ability to add an image, a photo, a video, a URL link. Use it. Remember,
Great.
We see first, then we read.
Great. And to the people who are on the call right now, now is a great time to ask questions. I'm going to share with you in just a second the 2 upcoming resources that might be helpful for you is next week, the Office of Career Solutions and Corporate Engagement will be doing free virtual drop-in kind of profile lookovers and give you some insight as to what some things you might work on, how you might improve your profile, provide you some additional resources. And then in 2 weeks, Laurie will be back to help us with the how to really maximize using LinkedIn for the job and internship search. So I don't have any questions that are coming in.
I will address a couple that you probably are thinking about, but you haven't asked me. What if I've got gaps? If there's alumni out there, Penn State University alumni, it is okay to say you're on a sabbatical. We actually have the ability now to say, I'm a mom at work, mother at work. You can say that's your profession. You do not have to not disclose that anymore. We want you to be transparent. We want you to be real. We want to give that 360 view of you. One of the things that we looked at internally and why we're moving to the skills-based hiring model is that we noticed that our algorithm, that the recruiters were sort of gaming it by putting in the zip codes of the top Ivy League schools. And what would that results be? 10 white people going to Princeton, Harvard, Yale, etc. So we changed that algorithm so that the skills is now the top thing that is searched. And guess what happened? The top 10 candidates for most recruiters now reflect public state universities, people of color, more women. 3 out of 10 now reflect those 3 areas. That is a wonderful thing. We're now really creating a more inclusive, diverse, and equitable access to job and opportunity. And that's what I want you to know, that we are a trusted professional network. Another thing is, there's our questions now.
No, go ahead. Yeah, there are some questions that have popped in.
I just wanted to let you know that trust is a big thing for us. I know a lot of women often have encountered, this happened to me all the time when I was teaching at Pasadena City College, saying, I can't be on that network that way because I was in an abusive relationship. And there are ways that we can get around that by setting those settings to private, but working on reaching out through your network so that you're doing all of your networking through private channels and through in-mail, and being very careful about that. I want you to know that for people that have disabilities or any impediments to learning, we are now making it so that you can do video, you can do audio, you can do text. When you go into that practice interview area, there's 3 ways you can do it. You can text, you can do video, you can add closed captioning. These are things that we take seriously at LinkedIn. I had the experience, and Rita was afraid we were going to have Zoom bombing today. I don't think we have had it, of where I was posting a webinar that I was doing, and someone made some very bad comments, like the F word. I was on one of the comments. I deleted the comment, and then I emailed the trust team, which is easy to do, and said, I'm really suspicious of this comment. It happened 2 days later, and they removed that person from the network. There are no political ads allowed on the network LinkedIn feed. They're disqualified. And I want you to know that that respectful, kind, empathetic responses are what we want. We want diversity of opinion. We want diversity of points of view, but we do not want people to be in any way bullied or to be in any way coerced. I think this is all big news for us.
Sorry, yeah, actually, a question that came in that is kind of connected to that is the profile on LinkedIn safe? And I think you have addressed a couple of things. You have control over the privacy settings, and how much you are active on the platform, as well as understanding more how it works. Did you have other kind of tricks about how to be kind of safeguarding your profile?
Remember, it's a professional network. It's not a social network. Mm-hmm. Don't put provocative photos up there. That's why I really firmly believe in the cropped in place. I was helping, believe it or not, a president of a school, and he had a picture of him standing in the background with his fly fishing gear. And I said, really? Really? Are you going to put that picture up there? I said, you can talk about it in your summary that you're when you're not at university, you love fly fishing and you love traveling, but really, let's zoom in on who you are. That's super important. And especially the fact that we're going to meet most people virtually in this little closed booth caption way. The other thing is, I cannot emphasize how important it is to tell your origin story, which is the why story. You do not need to be ashamed of where you came from or how you came to Penn State or what you did. I taught at Pasadena City College in Southern California, one of the most diverse schools in the country, 28% Asian, 28% Latinx, 12% Black, and the other was a motley crew of white and Pacific Islanders. I'm letting you know that there were real great stories. I'm the first in my generation to do this. I am willing to work my way through school to get this degree to go after what I want. Typically, Latin families don't support creative and innovative fields, but my family is supporting me in this and letting go of the idea that I have to be a doctor or a lawyer. Tell those stories. They're super, super important. And you know what? It makes you really relatable and relevant.
So there's 2 questions that came in, and as we're getting a little closer to time, I want to make sure I get them in. The first one is, I don't have much experience as a first-year student. What should I have most displayed on my profile?
The kinds of activities that you're doing in the university that go above and beyond just courses. Remember, there's all kinds of things. My son at Princeton wrote the music and lyrics for a 3-hour off-Broadway show that was produced in New York. You know what? not on his LinkedIn profile. And you know what? Every one of his jobs has included an enormous amount of writing and grant writing. Really great evidence. He has great personal communication skills. He was in the stand-up comedy group at his university, not on his LinkedIn profile. My daughter, who wanted to be in the entertainment university, fabulous writer, no examples of her writing on her LinkedIn profile. But what she did do is when she graduated from Northwestern and came from Chicago to LA to get a job in the entertainment industry, she reached out to that university page and she set up coffees. And I can tell you, she went to 2 coffees or brunches every weekend for 6 months, and she landed a great job at Universal Production Studios, UCP. So it's possible. So just keep in mind, don't just add to it. It isn't. There's no perfect LinkedIn profile.
And I would say too, it's more about learning how to leverage the resource to network and to do your research and to learn what those skills are so that you can maybe learn them through LinkedIn Learning or through other people that you have conversations with, and one dot connects to another dot. And that is, I think, one of the best tools that LinkedIn offers. I have one more question, and it says,
let's go for it.
If I am a co-creator of a business, what should I add as my industry? Whatever my business is about, should that be what it's about, or how do I do that?
So if that person could type in the chat what that business is for,
well, she says,
really
or they say, I'm sorry, they say our mission is to inspire others to live authentically. So advocating wellness.
So I would say, I'd say I'm in the nonprofit service industry for well-being.
And I also want to add that the degree or the industry that you get is not going to dictate the job that you get. So using your headline to also highlight that you are in a wellness advocate, or you're co-creator of that kind of a business, would be helpful to add as well.
I was going to say, after security, well-being is in the top 5 searches on LinkedIn Learning courses and job descriptions. It is a big field. And what we saw is there's a huge need for telemedicine and for those kinds of services online. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. I will offer one other thing. You all can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will look at your profile after you've done your makeover. So unless you've done your makeover, I won't look at it. You need to do the makeover first. So in 2 weeks, if you've got it all done up, I'm more than willing to look at it and give you some tips and just see how it looks. But just remember, it's an ongoing thing. I change mine all the time.
So I actually launched our closing poll, and it's kind of coming in it asks, what will next steps be? And a lot of our participants are saying that they're going to add an about section to their profile, and they're going to look for ways to add skills. So that really got through. I hope that they do that.
Yeah, if you say it 3 times, that's what I've learned. You have to hear it, see it, do it. But that's really, I really wanted you to get how the algorithms work so that you could understand how it shows up for recruiters and for people posting jobs. Once you understand the thunk behind it works a lot like Google search, only it works on this taxonomy of skills that we have identified. We've identified over 50,000 skills. So it's not hard to use that little pop-up menu to get those skills to pop right up. You also saw that little assignment I gave you. Pick 3 jobs. They can be moonshot jobs you don't even think you can get right now. But if you're attaining those skills and looking to add those skills, that will help you go from being a freshman LinkedIn profile to a graduating senior LinkedIn profile as you fill in those blanks. And you can keep changing those. Like I've done this every year for certain students. I tried an experiment freshman through senior, and every year I asked them the same question: download 3 jobs. And the jobs weren't always the same from freshman to senior year, but they gave them an ability to round out their idea of who they were and how they could describe themselves.
Well, speaking even from, I always learn something, and I've learned something again tonight. I will be happy to share the slide deck with the participants. I have that as the students have registered, and we had I think a great time. Is there a last call for anything else?
Oh, just to remind you, it's going to be recorded. I talk fast. That's on my student evaluations. My worst evaluation is she talks too fast. actually had interventions done on the speed talking, but it's all there available for you.
All right. Well, we will look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Thanks, Laurie, for your time.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.